I always go back, Microsoft was founded when Bill and Paul created the basic interpreter for the Altair, and a lot has happened since then. But we fundamentally think of ourselves as a tools and a platform company. The idea of creating technology that you can put in others' hands so that they can go on to create more technology is sort of very natural to us. I would say there are three broad areas that I'm very, very excited about. The first one is cloud and AI, and they kind of go together.
Why do you say they go together?
And the reason is because the fact that you have the infinite capacity of compute storage network. So the fact that you have infrastructure that is capable of reasoning over large amounts of data is what's fueling this AI revolution. If I think about even the advances we've had in speech, we now have the capability to do human-level speech recognition.
Cortana and those kind of
stuff. That's right. And in just even in terms of raw APIs for anybody else to use, or image rec, so the ability to do object recognition in the wild. The capability development has been a combination of some algorithmic work, but it's also the fact that you have the cloud. So that's something that even in India, it's really taken off for us. The second area is what you said, Cortana. For me, I actually think of it as the third runtime, as an agent. When I say the third, the operating system of the device, whether it's the PC or the phone, the operating system was the first runtime. The second runtime, you could say, was the browser. The third runtime can actually be the agent.
Oh, wow.
Because in some sense, the agent knows you, knows your work context, knows the world. And that's how we're building Cortana. And give it really natural language understanding. Because for all of the advances in human-computer interface, there's nothing to beat language. And so that's the ultimate breakthrough.
So you think language is a third big wave in human interaction?
Absolutely. And so that's sort of the second platform that we're very excited about. The third one, I think it'll take a little more time, but I'm very, very excited about augmented reality.
Okay.
And it's going to be all forms of virtual reality to augmented reality, but when you sort of put on a HoloLens as a designer, or as a technician, or even as a student. I mean, I always think the first time I put on HoloLens was to see something that Cleveland Clinic had built for medical education. In fact, the first year anatomy class in Cleveland Clinic is being taught using HoloLens.
Wow.
And I thought, as an electrical engineer who never understood Maxwell's equations, I thought, man, if I would ever had it, I would have been a better electrical engineer.
I'm sure, but then you wouldn't have been at Microsoft.
That's right. But overall, I feel that augmented reality is perhaps the ultimate computer, because when your field of view becomes computer.
And this augmented reality, virtual reality, you think all that is just coming together?
To me, it's just a dial of the opacity. So ultimately, you want to be able to have a setting that you can set, whether you want a full 360-degree immersive field of view, or you want to be able to see the real world.
So just you're saying just a
That's
moment.
right.
Okay.
That's right.
Great.
So that's at least how I think about the three platforms. Now, one of the things that it's so exciting to see. I mean, I read your book over the summer, and when I think about what is happening with the India stack, it's pretty tremendous how it got started, but now the speed with which you were able to scale it. I mean, it's very comparable to any other internet scale ramp up. So what's your vision? How does this play out going forward, both in terms of the technology, but in terms of impact?
Yeah, so I think one of the things when we designed the Aadhaar platform, and it was in the government, was speed and scale was very important, because unless you have speed and scale, you can't really ensure the thing is sticky, that it stays. And so we rolled it out, and I was very fortunate that two different governments of different political persuasions both supported the project. In fact, it's really accelerated in the last 2-3 years, and it crossed 1 billion users in about 5.5 years, which is faster than any other. So, and there are about 10 or 11 billion user platforms on the planet. They're all in the Valley, and there's one here. So, Valley and in Seattle.
In Seattle too, yeah.
all in the West Coast and here. So I think So I think that was very important. But we actually said, how do we layer APIs on this to be able to do different things? So the initial APIs were for authentication, and that allowed you to verify a person's identity using a biometric on any device, including a phone or a PC. Then we built a KYC capability where I could use it to open a bank account or open a SIM card. And a great example of the KYC is what Mukesh Ambani has done at Reliance Jio, where he's built a platform where he's enrolled 100 million people into the Jio platform. It was possible only because he used Aadhaar eKYC. He could enroll a person in 2 to 3 minutes, and he does 1 million customers a day. So it's not just about, it's about the fact that it's actually a source of competitive advantage, that your customer acquisition can be speeded up. On the other side, the same technology used by the government has saved them about $5 billion in savings. So, for the government, it's acted as a very effective way of reducing waste in the benefit system, and for the private sector as a way of customer acquisition. So I think it served both purposes. And then we also designed it to be electronic signatures. I can use an Aadhaar number to sign a document. So I do a loan application on my phone, I can just sign it with Aadhaar, it becomes digitally signed, it's non-repudiable, so you can make the whole thing paperless. And then on top of that, the government is launching something called the digital locker, which allows you to store all these documents encrypted and on the cloud somewhere, on the Azure cloud.
Right.
And we think that this will be applied to sectors. So all the financial guys will put financial documents on the cloud, all the healthcare guys will put healthcare records. So over the next 4 or 5 years, we see all that happening. And then the other big thing which we worked on was building the unified payment interface, which is the world's first interoperable mobile-to-mobile payment network in any country. And on top of that, the Prime Minister launched the BHIM application, which has already had 15 million downloads. So there's lots of stuff happening there. And then the last piece of that puzzle, in some sense, is electronic consent. We are saying that we feel that India is going to be data rich before they're economically rich, or Indians are going to be, because the moment somebody has a phone or a smartphone, he has so much digital trails coming, right? And if a person who is data rich can then leverage his data to improve his life, that's where the game is. So if data can be a source of individual empowerment for every individual, but for that you need to build an architecture where billion people can access their own data with consent and use it for getting a loan or getting better education or getting a job. So we really see this as a transformational thing which over the next decade will massively penetrate, because our fundamental belief is that if all these technologies can be used for empowerment, then they will become, I think, more acceptable. I think one of the challenges we have today in the West is the fear that all this AI and all this is going to knock out jobs. And I think that a lot of the pushback is that. But if on the other hand, we use this stuff to make people's lives better, then it will become acceptable.
No, absolutely. I mean, I think that vision of recognizing that data is the new natural resource, but instead of thinking of it as unevenly spread, to empower every citizen of India, and then to have the stack, the architecture of it, as I sort of I reflect on it, to have that presence-less, cashless, paperless vision on which an entire ecosystem can be built, it's just super, super rich and very, very exciting.
So I know that you're a big believer in platforms and collaboration, and so when you think about all the platforms you have at Microsoft, how do you see using the India stack, or how do you see combining the power of both? What's your view on that?
In fact, the more I think about how technology evolves, it's short-sighted to think about just one platform. You actually have to have an architectural worldview that says whatever we are building is a platform has to be an ingredient for someone else who wants to build a platform. So this definition, so it's composability. In other words, everything really ultimately has to fit into a more of a network model. So in our case, for example, I would love for our services, whether it's Office 365 or Dynamics 365, anything that we're doing end user or Windows itself, to be great participants in the India stack. I should be able to log in using Aadhaar. I should be able I should be able to use any of our applications using the identity system that every Indian uses. The other part of it is also our cloud infrastructure. We would like to be able to pave it so that any entrepreneur here who wants to build for the India stack can get the security enclave, can get the core infrastructure to be able to rapidly build. And the thing that I'm seeing is as you were talking about the broad empowerment, when I look at our own cloud growth, which is, doing very, very well for us, of course, the traditional large businesses, whether it's the banks, whether it's even in healthcare, but even the public sector, to see the government in Andhra Pradesh, for example, use machine learning to detect high school dropout and use the scarce resources of the state to be able to intervene. And now it's spreading to Jharkhand and Punjab. Or ICRISAT using, again, sort of IoT and machine learning to be able to say, let's improve the yield of farmers. And have that spread across the country. Even how do you bring affordable eye care? Using, again, data as a natural resource so that you can reason over that. So those are the kinds of examples that I must say are amazing. Even on the elections, I was pretty stunned. I was looking at all of the big consumers of the public cloud. And then one of the names that came out was the Election Commission of Tamil Nadu. And I was thinking, wow, what is the workload? The fact that they actually had cameras.
Video cameras at every,
And the fascinating thing there is, you can imagine in the past, you would have built, had a capital outlay, you would have built all the servers, whereas in this case, they just spun up a whole bunch of virtual machines, hydrated them for the election season, and dehydrated it.
Find us on Facebook at facebook.com/ETNow, and don't forget to click the like button. You can also follow us on Twitter at ETNowLive. To stay updated with all our programming, hit the subscribe button on our YouTube channel by logging on to youtube.com/user/ETNow.